see if I can get it.
I understand. Yeah, I'll see if I put it, yeah, that'll work. You turned 30?
Yeah. You thought it was me?
Yeah, I thought it was you. I thought you were 30. I was going to say happy birthday. No.
I'm 55, all of it, every day. Oh, the little lunch was coming on?
Oh, no. No.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Whichever is appropriate for you. Good evening. It is good to have you here with us tonight. Montgomery Public Schools is having its second charter school forum, public forum, an opportunity for you to hear the second application of our charter school applicants and to allow you to hear what the applicant is presenting as a charter school, and an opportunity to ask questions if you would like. I started out by saying good afternoon, but I did not say Happy New Year. And it is a great year already. In the interest of time, we're not going to spend a lot of time I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking. I'm going to turn the conversation over to Mr. Justin Hampton, who is our Freedom Prep Academy Charter School applicant.
Thank you, Dr. Nettles. We first of all want to extend a thank you to all of you for coming out tonight. We want to do a brief presentation in conjunction with our founder, Ms. Robin Webb, our founder and CEO. We're going to do a presentation with you all, and then I believe receive comments and questions at the end.
Okay, are we ready to get started? There was a little echo, Justin. Are we good?
We are good.
Okay, and can you hear me clearly?
Very.
All right, great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robin Webb, and I'm the founder and CEO of Freedom Prep Charter Schools. Freedom Prep Charter Schools here in Memphis, Tennessee. I first want to start by apologizing for not being there in person. I am still here in Memphis because we are experiencing a significant COVID surge, pretty much like the rest of the country, which is causing a significant shortage in our schools. And I felt it in the best interest of our students, our families, and our communities to be on site today. But I'm so appreciative of Montgomery Public Schools for allowing me to be there virtually through this Zoom format. I want to thank everyone for their time tonight. I also want to thank Montgomery Public School Board for taking the time to listen to us and consider our application to partner with Montgomery Public Schools for a charter in Montgomery, Alabama.
Robin, before you go any further, will we be able to see you, or how is that going to work? We only see the screen, we don't see you.
Oh, you don't see me? Okay. I can stop sharing.
Whatever is your preference. When I saw the original version, I thought we were going to see your face. There you are.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll start sharing again, but usually there's a way on the PowerPoint where you can see me on the side. And I can pause if you all want to do that, or I can just keep going. Whatever's best.
Whatever's best.
We can see you and the PowerPoint. That'd be
Say it again, Justin.
great. We can see you and the PowerPoint.
Okay, you can. Okay. Let me pull this back up again. Hold on. Okay, and you can see the presentation?
But now,
Give Scott just a moment to see if he can make that adjustment behind the scenes. And then if
Sure.
you can, once the presentation is over, if we can see your face again, that'd be great.
Sure thing.
All right.
Okay, sure. So I'm going to kind of breeze through this agenda. Justin is going to handle the majority of the presentation, but I want to breeze through the agenda at the beginning, kind of give an introduction to myself and to Freedom Prep. We're going to talk about who we are, why Alabama and why now, what we do at Freedom Prep, and how we hope to be able to support Montgomery Public Schools in moving forward together. So who we are. So Freedom Prep Charter Schools, our mission is to prepare all students in grades pre-K through 12 to excel in college and in life. We're unapologetically a college prep charter school. Our vision is that all students at Freedom Prep will have the same competitive advantages as the most privileged children in America. We always want our kids, regardless of socioeconomic background, to have the same competitive advantage as the most privileged children in America. Justin will talk more about how we do that in our program, but we often serve populations of kids that are economically disadvantaged, usually high percentages of kids in free and reduced lunch population, and usually 99% Black and brown children. Talk a little bit about the history of Freedom Prep and kind of how I got here. I actually started out my career as an attorney. I went to law school because I wanted to do civil rights law. After leaving the practice of law, I left and went and worked for an education nonprofit, and it was there where I started to realize that our modern day civil rights movement and the real fight for equity was in education versus in law. And so although I'm trained as an attorney, my passion is through education. I wanted to give people, kids, the tools to fight for themselves versus me fighting for them for equality. I'll give you a little bit of background of Freedom Prep. Founded the first school in the fall of 2009 with a class of 106 graders. We've grown throughout the years to a high school, elementary schools, and an additional middle school. Now in 2021, so in 2009, one school, about 100 students in 6th grade. Now we have around 5 schools with about 2,300 kids in grades pre-K through 12. So we operate 2 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and a high school, all in the southwest neighborhood of Memphis, Tennessee, the neighborhoods of Westwood and Whitehaven. And so I can talk more about, happy to answer any questions kind of about my background and how I got here to start Freedom Prep. But the real story, the real kind of blessing in this work is a story about our kids and the success that we've had with our kids. I want to tell you all a story about little brother. His name is Elijah Tyler. We affectionately call him Little Brother. Little Brother grew up in the Westwood neighborhood, right across the street from our very first school. Our first school was housed in a church family life center in the heart of Westwood. Little Brother would ride his bike. He would ride a little BMX bike, and he'd wear a little small red sweatshirt. And Little Brother was raised actually by his grandmother, and he also helped take care of his ailing mother. He had a terminally ill mom in the household as well. Now I'll tell you, Westwood is a community in Memphis that is probably one of the poorest communities in the city of Memphis, one of the poorest zip codes in the city of Memphis. Little Brother did not escape that level of poverty. We convinced Little Brother, we recruited Little Brother to come to Freedom Prep in the 6th grade. He was in our second class of 6th graders, so we started in the fall of 2010 at Freedom Prep. Little Brother, Elijah Tyler, then graduated from Freedom Prep and went on to attend Rhodes College, prestigious private liberal arts college in Memphis, Tennessee, my alma mater actually. And Little Brother just graduated from Rhodes College last May and returned to the Westwood community to teach at Freedom Prep as an elementary school teacher at our Westwood Elementary School. And so really the true living impact of the work is not in my story, it's in kids like Elijah Tyler, it's in kids like Little Brother. Little Brother is now giving back and giving the opportunity for kids like himself to get the level of education that's going to prepare them to choose any college that they want once they graduate from Freedom Prep. And so why Alabama and why now? One, for me, it's about, I know that there are more Elijah Tylers, there's more Little Brothers in Alabama. The second reason for me, it is spiritual. Justin will talk more kind of about how we got to Alabama, but my work, even as a child when I started picking up my dad's copies of the autobiography of Malcolm X, even as a child, my passion has been civil rights. And I could not ignore the fact that the civil rights movement, one, is the birthplace of the civil rights movement is in Alabama. and the fact that education reform across the country, strong schools, strong charter schools, education reform, has largely been ignored. The South and Alabama in general has been ignored by education reform. When I was trained to open Freedom Prep, I visited a ton of schools in the Northeast, some schools in California. What I saw and what was so fascinating was that they had the exact same population of kids, same demographics, 100% free and reduced lunch, 100% children of color, but 100% of their kids were going to college and four-year universities, and there was a ton of resources and money and time spent on those schools, whereas in the South, there were no efforts to really have strong schools of choice for families that otherwise couldn't afford strong schools. And so for us, a natural transition in really transforming and looking at education in the South is coming to Alabama. I am a product of public schools, and I'm from Arkansas, a small town in Arkansas. I also noticed that Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, all of our states have largely been ignored by education reform, and all of our states struggle by not having additional partners for strong college prep schools. And so that's my why, Alabama, but I'll pass it now to Justin to kind of continue on.
Thank you. So not only is Freedom Prep interested in coming here because of the statistics that exist, but like she said, there's also a connection between what's taking place in Memphis, the history of where the school was founded, and how that connects to our narrative here in Alabama, specifically in Montgomery. Not only is it imperative that we begin that work, but it's imperative we begin it soon. There's an urgency to this work as well. National research shows that students in majority black schools have been 9 months behind their white peers. Recently, the statistics have and the gap has only widened to be 1 full year behind their white peers. And so the urgency of now exists in the work, not only statewide and nationally. Could you go to the next slide? Not only nationally, but in Alabama, it exists, and it's just as important, and the statistics are just as prevalent here. As you can see, 95% of students attending failing schools statewide are black and Latino. 65 of the 76 failing schools statewide have a poverty rate of at least 67%. So what does that mean when you combine those two statistics together? It means that failing schools are more often, or if not in almost all instances, attended by low-income black and brown children. And so the imperative exists not just nationally, but in Montgomery specifically, and Alabama specifically. So this is a very personal mission. I do it for Robin, for myself. I'm a father of 4 children, 3 elementary school-age children, and all of my children attend public school here in Montgomery. 2 attend charter school, 1 attends Montgomery MPS school. And so for me, it's just as important as any other family in the city, and I've recently been confronted with the same choices that others have been confronted with, which is, where am I going to send my child to school, and how am I assured that they will be prepared to make the choice they want to make in college and in life once they graduate from high school. So how do we accomplish this? You want me to do this one, Robin? I think she might be.
Yes, sorry.
Freedom Prep, we hold a firm college-ready bar, and we have no excuses but with empathy. So what does that mean? If a student shows up to Freedom Prep and maybe they haven't had their homework completed, but the standard is we complete our homework. The standard is we're prepared for class. Well, maybe they had an issue at the house. Maybe the lights weren't working at home. Or maybe there was an issue that has to be dealt with beyond the control of the student. Well, let's address that issue as well. Let's address that issue with the wraparound services that we have, or maybe there's some other way that we can do that. But in the meantime, how can you get here a little bit earlier? How can we arrange for the student to show up a little bit earlier to school? Or maybe we can arrange for some after-school services so that the student still is held to the same standard, but we understand the situation the student is in and meet that situation with empathy while still holding a firm college-ready bar. Proving what is possible. So in the first slide, we talked about some of the outcomes that we hope to see, that we want to provide our students with the same competitive advantage as any other school across the city, as the most privileged schools in the city. And in Memphis, that's exactly what Freedom Prep has been able to accomplish. As you can see, since 2012, Freedom Prep has been the top 10% of the state as far as academic growth is concerned. And some years have even been the top 1% for academic growth. No other school in Memphis has had a track record for academic growth as strong as Freedom Prep's has been. And in math specifically, if you go to the next one, Prep's strongest subject is mathematics. We're the second highest performing school in the Memphis metro area. Only one school currently outperforms Freedom Prep, and I want us to put that in the Montgomery context. In Memphis, only one school is outperforming us as far as our proficiency in math. That school serves 70% white families, has an average annual income of $122,000, and has a 6% poverty rate. Freedom Prep is 99% Black and Latino. The community that Freedom Prep is in has an average annual income of $33,000, and 85% or more of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch. And so we're providing an education that is as competitive as the most prestigious schools in the city. In a Montgomery context, what would that be? That would be as if we were providing a quality education as high or better than a Forest Avenue, than a McMillan, than a MA, than a St. James, and whoever. They are on par and achieving and receiving the same level of education as any other school in the city. How can we support MPS moving forward together? So our plan is to open a kindergarten, first, and second grade school and add a grade level every year until we reach a full K-8 offering to close those learning gaps early. As the mantra goes, in early literacy, you're learning to read, and then you're reading to learn after you've learned how to read. So we want to close those gaps, both in literacy as well as in mathematics at an early age. We want to also engage families in the community and organizations in the community, businesses. And we've been very intentional so far. Up to this point, since first engaging Montgomery a couple of years ago as a potential candidate to lead the conversion school effort here, we've been engaging the community consistently and been very intentional about hosting virtual forums and in-person conversations to let people know what our intentions are, but also to engage people that really have shown a genuine interest in the community. Because what we believe is that you don't just show up in the community and become a part of the community. It's like walking up to somebody and saying, hey, we're friends now. That doesn't happen. You have to be invited into a relationship with people, and you have to earn the trust. And so over the course of time, hopefully, we've been able to establish those relationships, and I think that's reflected in the sort of folk that we've asked to be board members with us, people that represent Alabama State University, and the King's Campus, and others who visited the campus that are local pastors that have seen what we have to offer in Memphis, and that we've been in Montgomery and had conversations with. So it's very important to us to establish those relationships and become a part of the community, not just show up and say we are a part of the community. Well, that concludes our presentation. Hopefully we didn't go over time. I'll pass it back to Dr. Milligan.
Thank you for your all's presentation. What we want to do now is turn the conversation over to the community to see if you have any questions or concerns or comments that you would offer Freedom Prep about a charter school in the Montgomery area. Please come to the podium.
Thank you for coming here. We appreciate it. I have several questions. My one question is, what grade level did you start in Tennessee?
Started with 6th grade in Tennessee, the very first year.
My concern, or my question, or I'll put it as a concern, we've had several charter schools here, and they're all starting with kindergarten and the elementary grades. But we have children in middle school and high school who need help. So I'm wondering, why aren't we starting a school in those grade levels instead of constantly starting in the elementary and not addressing those needs?
Justin, do you want me to address, or you want to address it?
You can do it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's an echo, sorry.
Go ahead.
So a couple of reasons, and I'll be perfectly, fully transparent with you, because that's a great question. And I personally love 6th grade. I love middle school, and we want to start a middle school to actually start in 6th grade. So it's 2 reasons. One, Something that was not in our presentation, our model in Memphis is based on about $9,000, $10,000 per pupil. The model in Alabama per pupil is at least $3,000 less. And middle schools actually give you even less money than elementary schools. And so the only way for us to do a middle school is to financially afford to be able to open a really strong middle school with the same model is for us to start with elementary school, because we're able to get more financing in elementary school. And the other reason is this. I did start with 6th grade, and I know because that's where the need is in Memphis, but I also recognize the reason we went back to do elementary school was because when we got 6th graders, they were 2 and 3 grade levels behind. And so we were constantly playing remediation and catch up because there were no other charters in the neighborhood, and there were also, at the time when I opened in 2009, 60% of the failing schools in the Memphis City School District were in that neighborhood. And so I realized at that point, okay, I've got to get these kids earlier. I've got to get them a whole lot earlier to even start preparing them for college and putting college in their mindset, even at 5 years old. But that's a great question, and to be honest, if the funding were slightly different in Alabama, and I know there's legislation that's working on that, we would absolutely start in 6th grade because we do understand that is the need, and that's where we would like to service the need in Montgomery. And Justin, please feel free to add to any of that.
I just want to add that it was a heavy and deep consideration and a lot of debate among our staff about where we should start and how we should start. It's been, that question has been raised among us as well. And we understand that there's an enormous need at the middle school level, and we want to address that as well, but we have to be able to do it from a business savvy perspective as well. We want to be able to provide those students with the education they need on a day-to-day basis based upon what we actually can do with the resources we have.
Thank you.
So thank you for that question.
And then the other question is, it just went out. Well, I have another one. So you're going to, what will be different? I know you said you're going to do, I guess, more rigorous education. Well, what does that mean? What will be different? So if I send my child to your school, what are they going to get different than if I send them to St. James besides cost?
Well,
So there's not a cost. I think I heard that at the end, and I'm sorry if I'm not hearing fully the question. There's not a cost at all. It is a free school, free public charter school, like any other school. And what would be different? So it's hard for me to answer the question because I don't necessarily know the school that your child is going to. But I will say that at a basic level, the curriculum is rigorous. We're also, particularly in elementary school, our model has 2 teachers in kindergarten through 2nd grade. So there are a lot of difference in terms of the way that we operate in our model. But one big difference is we have 2 teachers in K through 2. And we have those 2 teachers so that we can have small literacy groups where we actually group kids based on their literacy level so that we can grow them in a certain way. And so I'll give you an example. We'll have 30 kids in a classroom. In Memphis, we would have somewhere around 27 to 30 kindergartners in the classroom. But there would be 2 teachers. 10 kids would be working with one particular teacher on their reading level with guided reading. The other 10 kids, the second set of 10 kids would be working with another teacher, and the third set of 10 kids would be working on computer programs, and they would rotate. And so there's a very intentional, specific way that we look at literacy levels and ensuring that we're growing kids in literacy. And we're happy to send more information, but that's like a small sample of how elementary school is a little bit different than a traditional public school.
I'd like to add on to that. There's also the community aspect of the school and how community is built within the school itself. One of the things that the school operates under is having community circles. And so let's say, for example, a student has to be separated out of the classroom for behavior issues. In order for the student to return to the classroom, the class has to collectively say, we forgive you for your infraction, as the student makes their apology to the group and says, this is what I did, I apologize to the group, do you accept me back into the community? yes, we accept you back into the community. And so there's a sense of support that I've seen in the classrooms that is very unique in terms of wanting each other to achieve, and in terms of, you know, just a wraparound community support that they have for one another that I think is very, very beautiful and genuine.
I just have one more question, then I'll let someone else ask questions. I am behind on knowing, are you a conversion, applying for conversion or brand new?
We're startup charter school.
Startup, okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions? Would you come to the podium, please?
Hello, I guess I'll turn this way. This is the audience. I'm just so thankful that here's another option. I'm a local educator here in Montgomery, and so grateful for the previous school that I worked for. We were able to travel and go to Atlanta and Tennessee to visit other schools because they wanted to ensure that we were teaching at a very high level. And coming from Montgomery, you would wonder, why can't we visit anyone here? Why can't we visit a school here locally and watch teachers and observe and learn from them right here? So we went to Tennessee and we went to Georgia, Ron Clark Academy and Freedom Prep, and it was amazing. And one thing I tell my husband, I say, when it's time for us to have children, we may have to leave Montgomery and go somewhere else because I refuse to pay for education when I know I can go 3 hours somewhere else and it's just as good, if not better. So that's what I tell my husband all the time. And then when Mr. Hampton was telling me about this opportunity, I said, oh my gosh, yes, come, please, just come, try out Montgomery. We need more options, especially with the influx of people that are starting to come to this city. And the first thing they ask is, what is education like? Where are the schools? What's the best school in the city? And then myself, I struggle sometimes to answer that question. And I believe it's time for a change, and it's time to add something new, something different, because people are coming here from all over the world, looking for equal opportunity and also looking for a great opportunity, and looking to see what makes Montgomery stand apart. So I thank you guys for trying to come here. I thank you guys for picking Montgomery because, quite frankly, I believe we need more options.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other comments?
I'm just going to piggyback off of what this wonderful lady has said before me. I'm also an instructor here at Montgomery. I'm a parent as well, and I've seen students struggle in MPS. I've seen students struggle in paid programs here locally as well. So having more options brings more opportunity, and we need to be able to give our students, our children, our friends' children, if you don't have any children, opportunity to explore new realms, new opportunities, new mindsets. Everybody's not able to travel 3 hours for another education. And the way things are divided, people are not able to even move to get to certain schools because of school districts. So I think that everybody should consider more opportunities through Freedom Prep, and possibly this opens the door for maybe more people coming in, because Montgomery is a great place to be. There's so many things happening in the city, art-wise and community-wise, and education should be the next big thing for us to pour into. Thank you.
More comments?
evening, everyone. Thank you, Justin. I wanted to just speak briefly about how I came to the point of thinking favorably about Freedom Prep. I never thought that I would stand before a group of people here in Montgomery and advocate on behalf of a charter school. And my name is Evan Milligan. I live just across the interstate there in Heart Estates in Ridgecrest, which is pretty much where I grew up. I was raised in MPS, and now I have a 4-year-old daughter who will start kindergarten possibly next year, if not the year after, and a 1-year-old son. I grew up primarily in our magnet school system here, and throughout that time, I often lived in the neighborhoods where there were non-magnet schools. And that was a very tense time for me in the 90s as a child, having friends that weren't benefiting from the same resources as the school that I attended, and hearing how students at non-magnet schools were being characterized. And so as a person that spent most of my time as an adult here in the city where I grew up, it's important for me that my children and the children here have sources of pride and things that they can look at, identify themselves with, and feel encouraged about, that keep them connected to the city. I think that Montgomery is often burdened with being labeled and branded in a way that causes students to feel like the weight of the world is on their shoulders even before they get in the classroom. And so as I learned about Freedom Prep, as Justin invited me to sit through some of the meetings where we were able to listen to the students and faculty and family members, I was just really struck by how honest the presentation seemed. It didn't seem like some flashy, glitzy thing that was trying to sell me. They were just talking about their actual life experiences and even had criticisms and were willing to share those freely. And I thought, and as I went and Googled the school and read more about it, this is something that I want students and my children and their peers to feel when they go to school, and to know that at least exists in their city. And so I hope that that's something that we as a community can strongly consider. I don't think bringing one school or charters will fix everything. There are many other things that we need to do for all of our schools, but I do think that this would provide a bright option and a source of pride for our children.
Other comments?
Good evening. I'm Trey Hayes. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak. And for the last couple of years, I've gotten an opportunity to learn more about this process, learn more about Freedom Prep, and I've been extremely impressed with one-on-one conversations, and also some of the virtual events that they've had. I'm the product of 2 public school teachers and a public school graduate. And I'm also a father of 2 boys that are school age, and we are currently zoned for failing schools. And so as we started looking at that, because I want to be a good parent and a good steward of my boys, I've been really excited about this possibility. I was reminded of actually changing a parenting approach of having high standards with empathy. I kind of adopted that and stole that from day one, so thank you. And I think the boys are enjoying that approach a little bit better than the ones we had before as well. But I am concerned about my boys, and I want them to have a great opportunity, but I'm also concerned about our neighbors and their neighbors, and for them having choices and access to higher education. And because I think it's important for today in Montgomery and tomorrow, and that will continue. And so for me, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak, because I couldn't support this effort more, and I couldn't support Freedom Prep coming here more. So thank you for the opportunity.
Additional comments?
Good evening. I am Denise Davis-May. I am on faculty at Alabama State University, and I have not been a proponent of charter schools, to be fully clear. But I have a young, well, she's not young anymore, a new graduate of MPS who's now a freshman in college. And I started processing our experiences, and I'm not one that suggests that all of the schools in MPS are horrible. We're in one of the best schools in the city. We're sitting in one. They do a marvelous job here. So that is not why I support Freedom Prep. I did my homework and Googled and looked at the former charter schools that came to Montgomery and recognized that Freedom Prep has a community central purpose, right? And so it's not sufficient to just educate. That doesn't work in communities where we need to be connected to one another. And so the process, I Googled, I participated in the virtual tour, asked some questions they didn't expect to be asked, and I really believe that they have the students' best interest at heart, but beyond that, the community's best interest at heart. I know a couple of the folks at MPS, and they know that I don't play about my kids. Sometimes some emails and calls and the like, but I also don't play about my neighbor's kids, right? And so they're babies, and they're coming through the system now, and they need this. They need some additional options. Private schools and all of the vouchers and all of those opportunities, they work for some, but they don't create change beyond that individual child. I'm a social worker by trade, and so I'm concerned about the ecological impact on kids. How does every aspect of where a child lives and learn impact how they grow and what they grow to be? So I am in support. I haven't always been, but I am in support after the research that I've done. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I actually have a two-part question and comment. I'm interested to know how does Freedom Prep handle, how do you engage parents' involvement in kids' education? And not just involvement in the sense of one way, I mean two-way. You know, I expect the school to communicate clearly to a parent and updates and all those things, but what does it look like from the involvement of the parent? Is there some type of system or encouragement for parents to be involved in what is going on in the school?
Rob, will speak to the current where our PTO structure?
So I'm trying to make sure I understood the question. Say that more. Is there encouragement for parents to be involved in the school?
Right. I mean, I would expect to be involved. Let me just give you context. So I'm new to Montgomery. Well, not new really. I've been here 4 years, and my wife and I moved here from Louisiana, and we moved about 3 times while we were there. We got married, lived in an apartment, moved to our home. We never considered where we were moving to based on schools. And when we got here, that was the first question and the only question that most people were concerned about, because I had friends that were like, hey, if you move here, you better watch where you're moving to, because you're gonna be in this place and your kids are not gonna be able to go to a good school. And the schools that we were in, especially our last one, was an amazing school. And the structure was a public school, but it was so involved where the parents and the teachers were a team. And we had a men's group in the school. I mean, we showed up and did projects at the school. We painted stuff, and I mean, you know, you have the, you know, like the parent or the teacher or class mom. You had class family. It was very engaging to the parents because it really understood that that parent-teacher staff association is critical to a kid's education. So I didn't know if you all had anything that was somewhat of that nature. That's all.
So we do, I would say the very first introduction to the school is a meeting, is a family meeting basically. It's a family meeting between the school leader, sometimes the dean of students, and the family, parent and child. And it's a conversation about what are your expectations of Freedom Prep and what are expectations of you as a partner in educating that child and what you want for that child. And we all sign a community contract, which basically says what we're going to do. Of course, it's just symbolic. It's not like a legal document, but it is a community contract that says that we are in this together as partners in terms of educating the child. And so we have, normally our school model and structure is a school leader, head of school, principal, and then we have a dean of students, and that dean of students is responsible for ensuring that we have continuous parent contact and support. So we tell parents on the front end, we're gonna call you for great things, and we're gonna call you when there's some challenging things as well too. But we wanna establish that relationship from day one, so that when we do get to a time where there's something challenging, we have a relationship to work through that. And I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that's kind of the initial introduction, and that's how we think about families and parents as partners in getting our, I mean, it takes a village truly to get our kids to college.
Yes, that's my question. I appreciate that. And I know some about Freedom Prep. I know Justin, I've read, basically coming here, we didn't listen, go back to my story, we did not listen to our friends. We chose a house where we wanted to live in, and we said we believe in public school. And we put our children in public school. I have a 10-year-old, in a week, I have a 9-year-old, or 8-year-old, and I have a 5-year-old. So we put our two boys in the school. We met with the principal. We wanted to understand. We were like, we're going to be a part of this school system and team. We're not going to listen to everything everybody said completely. We take it into consideration, but we're going to be a part of the change. And my kids, they struggled badly, and we pulled them out. And I've been here 4 years, and my kids have been in 7 schools. 7. If you count homeschool, 7 different schools. And what does that mean? We tried public school, and I really feel like we gave it our best. And I work full-time, my wife works full-time. We took off work, we came in for meetings, we did all the stuff that we were supposed to do. And obviously, from what I saw, the capability wasn't there. And so we did private school after private school after private school. And it's been very hard. So I'm really excited to see Freedom Prep come here. I'm a believer in charter schools. I'm a believer in alternative schools, different options. Our children are so different. You need to have different options because not every child is the same. But there are some core things that I think that every school needs. And that family, teacher, team, we're working together. It's a two-way street. I don't send my kids to school and expect the teachers to do everything and they just come home smart. Like that's just not how it works. So we are very excited about it. We want to have all our kids in public school. 2 of them are now in public school in Magnet. We tried and tried and tried over and over again. That's a lottery. I think someone said not everybody's going to get that opportunity, and we still have one in private school. So I think for us, we're here. We're vested in Montgomery. I'm also a realtor, and I've seen people move here without a second thought and just say I'm private school from the beginning. And they don't even come here to stay. They just come here for a short period of time or they don't move here. They move to a Prattville or they move to other places that are near because they just won't even give Montgomery a chance because of our school systems. So I think our school systems and having alternatives, along with MPS getting better, because I don't think it's just charter school just to save all. But I think Freedom Prep is a great start and it can help the community as a whole. Thank you.
My name's Chase Fisher. I live downtown and have school-age children as well. And, a couple of things. One, I'm tired of people who look like me leaving Montgomery largely because of schools. And I don't want to see that happen. And I want to be able to send my kids to schools in Montgomery as well. I'm also one of the founding board members of Valiant Cross Academy and have seen firsthand how when kids are given really great educational opportunities, how they rise to the occasion. And we're about to have the first graduating class there of some kids who were on a dropout path that now are going to be graduating from high school and are thriving. So I'm a firm believer that can happen when kids have those opportunities. And I echo what some others have said as well, that there's not one fix-all, and I know for all the NPS folks here that you guys have been doing some amazing and hard work, and y'all have been having some awesome results from that. And I feel like we've got some momentum now going in Montgomery around schools, and I see this as just being able to add one more thing to that that can really help the efforts overall, where people are proud of the schools and recognizing that all of us are thriving when the schools are thriving, and none of us are doing well when the schools aren't doing well. So we're all rooting for everything to be succeeding, whether it's the charter schools or the traditional public schools, or private schools like Valiant Cross, or whatever else it is. So I've been exposed to the Freedom Prep folks since they first started kind of looking around Montgomery, and excited about the opportunity of them coming down, and hope that you all will be in support of that as well. Thanks.
Additional comments?
Hi, my name is Vincent Hall. I'm a neighbor of Justin Hampton. And for a short time, I had temporary guardianship of my 10-year-old nephew who attended one of the local elementary schools. And that was my introduction to MPS. I don't really have a criticism of them because they were doing a very great job with limited resources. I am a fan of options. I had an opportunity to talk to Ms. Webb and her team, and I can appreciate the cultural aspect, the community engagement. I do think that we are in a position to raise the educational bar. I think we know for years and years this community has been underserved and overlooked. And now we have an opportunity for these kids to have access to resources, to options outside of the classroom as well as inside the classroom. And I think this community will hold them accountable, and we look forward to, I'm hoping that they can get established here and work with the community and with transparency. So we appreciate that.
We want to take one question from the Zoom, and that question is, how does Freedom Prep believe incorporating this charter into Montgomery will impact the overall landscape of a K-12 school in Montgomery? And then a second question is, what is the selection process for students?
The selection process, I'll start with that, and I may have to ask that first question again. The selection process is open registration to those who fit the age requirements for school. So it's similar or the same really as MPS. There's no testing in, there's no tryout, there's no application process, so to speak, where there's some barrier to entry. Once the school reaches capacity, so for example, if there's 500 seats at the school and there's more than 500 applications, then a lottery system is put into place to assure that the seats are filled in an objective way. Right? Other than that, there's just a registration process and it's open to everyone. Any other questions? Could you repeat that?
Mm-hmm. How does Freedom Prep believe incorporating this charter into Montgomery will impact the overall landscape of K-12 education?
Well, the hope is that the results that we're able to show, the community partnerships we're able to forge, that not only raises the bar across the landscape, but it sets an expectation that what's possible in our four walls is possible everywhere, because students that are attending our schools are coming from similar situations, dealing with similar challenges in their communities and in their lives, but they're still having a level of success collectively that can be mimicked isn't the right word, but that can be replicated in other places. And so it's a learning process both ways, because as is spoken at the podium, there are many things and many ways that MPS is being successful right now. And so partnerships and understanding of what those successes are on both sides and learning from each other is the most important thing, so that we can be successful in areas of weakness and that MPS can be successful in areas of weakness as well.
There's one more question about transportation. How will transportation be available, or will it be available? Will or not?
So we're working through the finances of how we could possibly support transportation. Right now, in Memphis, transportation is available, I believe, to those who live further than 2 miles away from the school. So right now, we're working through how we can have a business model that provides that. But currently, I don't know if transportation is something that we're going to provide on the front end.
Do you or Robin have any additional comments?
Other than thank you, everyone, for coming out. We're really excited about the opportunity to see Freedom Prep come to fruition in Montgomery. As I've stated, I'm I would say lifelong Montgomery resident, but I was raised here, and now I live here as an adult with my family. And I think the opportunity to see something like this, I genuinely believe we have not seen anything like Freedom Prep in Montgomery before. And I'm really excited about what that will look like, unique to our Montgomery context. I thank everybody for coming out, and I hope everybody that's listening virtually is excited about it as well. And if there are any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is justin.hampton@freedomprep.org. I'm open to answer any questions or receive any comments from anyone in the community. And so thank you for your time, and we appreciate you.
Robin?
Same here. Same here. Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me virtually as well.
Hope all is well in Tennessee. Thank you guys for coming out, participating in this public forum. And we look forward to hearing and seeing from you as a community in our schools again. Thank you and good night.